and to have the capacity to, at will, learn how to relax at will, no matter what is going on in your life, is incredibly difficult to do. And it takes years of learning and practicing, and it's very disciplined work that needs to be done on a daily basis. That's why it's not for everybody.
It's not a quick fix technique. It's slow, it has its own rhythm, and
there's a great payoff.
Yes, it's so rich. Welcome to the podcast, Lola Cohen. I am beyond honored to have you here today. You are carrying on Lee Strasberg's tradition, technique, legacy, and I want everyone out there in the world to hear this podcast. Can you tell me, how did you discover Lee Strasberg?
Well, Lee Strasberg was a household name in Brooklyn. He was, the head of the Actors Studio, and my parents were first nighters in the theater when it cost $5 to go. Wow. And so they came home with playbills, and Lee and Kazan, and the Actors Studio loomed large, especially because Lee was a Jew, and Harold Clurman, and we just felt represented. And it was a big showbiz, Flatbush upbringing with, a lot of music and theater talk. So that's how I heard of Lee as a kid. He was revered.
So you already had aspirations to be an actress?
No, I was, no, not at all. I shouldn't say not at all. I was addicted to old films, old movies. I watched, from Casablanca to Ida Lupino, black and white films, and Sterling Hayden, and all those incredible actors from the 30s and 40s. And yeah, so, and my family loved films, so we went to the movies, and my mother had a dress shop next to a movie theater run by the mafia where Woody Allen made one of his films. He lived in my neighborhood. So it just, the movies were everything. That's what we did on the weekends. We saw double features. And so film was a huge influence on my life and many others. And coming from Brooklyn, we had a nightclub in Brooklyn called the Elegant, where people like Don Rickles and Edie Gourmet, and it was just a very showbiz upbringing. My mother was a piano player. She could play from classical to jazz to Sinatra. And my house was filled with music. My apartment building in Brooklyn was filled with music. And so, yes, that's how I grew up.
Those early inspirations are so important. And I think we also have to thank our parents. I think my parents for exposing me to theater. And so many young kids and adults aren't exposed to it. So this was pretty... Yeah.
It's an elitist theater right now. I mean, unless you can afford $300 for a ticket. I mean, there are those lottery tickets, and sometimes the students can get. But it's a fortune. It's sad.
That's very sad that arts aren't available to everyone. And then when people start cutting back arts in school, where are you getting the exposure? I mean, there is community theater, which is important. My brother's involved with community theater. But you're right. We were very fortunate to go to the theater back then, and it shouldn't be...
Oh, I didn't go to the theater. My parents didn't have enough money for me to go.
Oh,
they went. No, we went to the movies. I mean, movies were life. The streets and the movies. And it was a very innocent, amazing childhood growing up in Brooklyn, in Flatbush at that time, I must say. So
I love that. So
Doo-wop was on the corner.
Oh, really? Doo-wop on the corner?
Yeah, well, I was a kid, but there were doo-wop groups, on the corner. And, oh, yeah, it was something.
How wonderful. So you kept that passion. It stoked your passion. And I was going to ask where your passion came from. So it came from your early beginnings.
I would say so.
And so you had heard of Lee Strasberg, and how did you find him in person?
Wow, that's a very long story.
We
I
have
don't know if
time.
I tell. Well, I'd been in a film, I'd been in a movie. I wasn't an actress, and I had well, my story. I guess it starts in '68 when I graduated from college,
Okay.
at the height of the Vietnam War, and I was a built-in demonstrator and became interested in left-wing and radical politics. And the war was heart-wrenching, and we were filled with rage. And I left the country for a number of years. A long story about that. For about 5 years, I went to a little island off the coast of Barcelona called Ibiza, which is now
A
a party island.
right?
Yeah, there were no Americans, and there was no, internet, no phones, no nothing. But this incredibly beautiful, magical place, and that was a life changer. And when I came back, I had to make a lot of decisions about what I was going to do with my life. Even though I had a degree, I was kind of aimless. I had read Anais Nin and
Love it.
thought, okay, I'm going to live her life.
That's a
And
wild life.
so, I got to Europe, and that I was just felt very at home and stayed. And when I came back, I went on a rock and roll tour, and where a movie was being made. And even though I wasn't an actress, I was in a lot of the scenes. And the movie, it wasn't very good, but I loved the whole process and just the whole crew and the camaraderie, and it was magical. And then when I came back to New York and it was all over, I thought, okay, what am I going to do with my life? I did go back to Spain.
Oh, you did?
Then I did. And then I came home, and it was on my father's birthday. I just walked over to the Institute on 15th Street and announced that I wanted to study with Lee Strasberg, and somehow I talked my way into it, as only I can, if you know what I mean.
So you talked your way into
his
private class, or was it?
Well, yeah, he had 2 classes, Monday and Wednesday, Tuesday and Thursday. He was at the Actors Studio. Oh, no, I have that wrong. Tuesday and Friday, he was at the Actors Studio. I'm forgetting the days. But I did, and you would never leave. People in the class were there for years. To have a spot was just, luck. Just luck, not talent. I didn't know anything. Zero. I had a degree, but I was not. I never read plays. Maybe 1 or 2 in my life. The Glass Menagerie. Shakespeare was out of my realm, and so I had a lot of studying and learning if I was going to be serious about this. And it turned out to be, change my life forever.
Forever. And ours, and all your students and generations of students, including myself. So do you remember your first encounter with him? The first time you actually were introduced to him or met him?
Well, I do, because it's like it's an emotional memory.
Right.
We were doing relaxation in the chair. And after about 5 minutes, first of all, I'm thinking, what does this have to do with acting? This is crazy. The chair, the people, the sounds. There were people on all levels in his class. So I'm like, whoa, does Brando, is this what he's doing? He didn't, but, that's what I was thinking at the time. And after about 10 minutes in the chair, he's explaining how to relax at will, and the purpose of the relaxation to eliminate fear and tension. And after about 10 minutes, I raised my hand and I said, Mr. Strasberg, I'm relaxed.
Oh, no. I'm saying, oh, no, because I'm imagining what the response was. What did he say?
He looked at me, but he had like a little smile on his face.
He probably thought you were cute.
Lee was very funny. Well, he looked like my grandmother, actually. So I don't know, because it's just, I'm used to older people, older Jewish people. I didn't feel, of course I was nervous, but I don't know. He was so lovable. I felt he was so lovable. And, you feared him, but he was lovable and funny, very funny. And he said, "Oh, you're relaxed, are you?" I said, "I am." And he said, "Well, how did you do it?" I said, "Well, I have a guru." He said, "You have a guru?" Uh-huh. "Well, what does the guru tell you to do?" I said, "The guru says," and I imitate the guru, "mentally massage your body, mentally massage your mind. You are not this body, you are not this mind." Now he's laughing. Now he's like, and he's making fun of me. "Oh, you think that, and he's, now get back in the chair, close your. So that was the first day. I said, I like you do yoga. I was kind of hippie-ish. I had, Indian clothes on, a little bit of a hairdo, if you know what I mean. Like I still do, but bigger. So that was my first juncture.
That's the greatest story. I bet so many people don't know that. I love that story. So people who are...
The second thing, another good story you might like. So the first scene I do is from Philip Roth's Letting Go. And I play like a frustrated single mother who has a boarder who's a college student, and I have a young son, and she's walking around like half naked in front of my son, and I'm very uptight, and I'm making turkey dinner for a guy I'm dating, and I'm really upset that maybe she'll be naked or something like that. So the scene, I'm alone on stage. I don't know what I'm doing. And the stage direction says she's making a turkey. So I start imitate.
Oh, okay.
When I think about it now, making a turkey, I mean, I think Lee, I didn't look at him, but his eyes must have been bulging at him. Then he said, "Stop the scene." Stop. He said, "What do you think you're doing up there?" That's another hold my jaw. "What do you think you're doing?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." He said, "I know you don't know." "Well, what is the scene about?" I said, "It's about a turkey. I'm making a turkey." And he said, "No, darling, the scene was a turkey."
But
Okay, so now everybody is laughing hysterically. And he said, "Now get back up there and let's improvise. It's a special day. It's Thanksgiving. People act differently on. I mean, there's always a lesson to be learned with Lee. He was an X-ray machine. He could see all your problems sitting in the chair. That's the kind of intuition, could just go right to the heart of any matter, an acting problem. His whole thing was about solving acting problems, basically. The problem of inspiration, of repetition, of anticipation. And these were like subjects for him. And when I was writing the book, transcribing those tapes for years and years, every time he said anticipation, boom, I had to cull it. And he said things in so many different ways, so poetically. He called himself a poetic realist.
I like
that.
Now, if someone's listening today, and I'm sure there are some people listening who don't know much about our technique in Lee Strasberg, why would you tell young actors to study this technique?
Well, there's many ways to train. It's just one of the ways, and it doesn't resonate for everyone. But you read about it, you see if you're drawn to it. It's not for everyone. And there's so many good teachers, and other philosophies. And so, for people who ask me all the time, I'll say, try it and, read it and then decide if it's for you. And people often, they come to Strasberg, they'll do some Adler, they'll do Meisner, or, they try different things, and that's fine. All those people were after the same artistic truth and authenticity in acting, all of them. And so my hat's off. I don't want to, say ours is the best way and the only way. Obviously, It's not, because there's so much controversy and people have wild opinions about it. And so I don't want to feed that.
I don't either. Yes, I agree. I do think, as a student first myself, that, if it's for you. I had studied another technique for 4 years, and I was missing like such a huge piece of my emotional life and my preparation. And that was what I found was, I never was really working out of myself. So for me, that's the gift. And if you discover this technique, I think it really helps to stay with it for a long time, don't you?
Well, it's a progressive discipline. I mean, yeah, I feel like saying to you, Rachel, I've watched you grow over the time I'm studying with you to be completely
I'm studying
different.
with you.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
That's so funny.
But you know what? I learn a lot from the students. It's, Lee used to say that, I know you're studying with me, but I learned so much from you. And it's true. Well, it's a kind of self-discovery, in terms of your own experience. We do a lot of work on understanding our own natures so that we can understand the character's nature. And so there's the psychology involved with it. I would call it self-analysis in a way. We don't ever talk about it. You don't tell the teacher your problems, or you don't, but you kind of make an inventory and you evaluate your experiences. And, we have exercises to harness memory and to use memory as a tool to create a character, to create a personal truth, so that we draw from our own experience. Now, not everybody wants to do that, or has an inkling desire to make an inventory of their lives.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. I love that you wrote 2 books. You must feel relieved that the legacy is down on paper, and
especially with the first book, the Lee Strasberg Notes. Those were on 8-track videotapes. I was one of the students. It was a work-study. I was a work-study student at one point, and one of my jobs was to follow Lee around with a microphone. Another time, I was one of the people taking these making these videotapes. Video cameras had just come out, and Anna had bought one for Lee, and we decided to tape the classes. And, we didn't know what we were doing. You turn it on, you turn it off. The tapes are, some of them are okay to watch, but most of them no. But the audio was perfect. Mm-hmm. And so I took it upon myself to come to the Institute at like 7 a.m. and on yellow pads. There was no internet, just write down. I thought they were just disintegrating, which they were. Mm-hmm. They weren't digitized. There was no digit. And and then I got a little TV with a tape recorder at home. And so it took a long, long time. And, he could talk. He didn't know about periods and commas. I mean, it was just one long sentence, and it just went on forever with wisdom about the history of the theater, and he had a huge intellect. and a vast knowledge of theater history, which he would pepper in with classes, and he would bring in recordings of great artists and show us films. And, it was really quite something to be in his class.
I think you add that to art classes as well, and I try to pass it on. This need to live a fully realized artistic life and learn from all the art forms.
Yes.
It's so important. We have those tapes, and we have a class called Legacy in LA where we show. I don't know if those are the ones you filmed. That would be so funny if they were.
Oh, I'm sure. Of course they are.
They're the same ones.
Yeah. Well, he died by so it was 5 years. I was in the classes the last 5 years. So I was just one of them. There was a whole group of us. That was our work study thing. We didn't have professional people with lighting or anything. Obviously, they're terrible.
Well, we use them. So for those of you listening, Lola is in the New York school, and I am in the Los Angeles school. So
I did teach in the LA school for 12 years. Let's not forget.
Did.
I lived in LA for 17 years.
That's right. And you were roommates with our beloved and my teacher, Hetty Sontag.
I was.
Such a great story.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Who would have thought, like, if Lee had known that eccentric, funny woman who came in that day would be the one helping to carry on the legacy? I mean,
well, I didn't think so, but my trajectory is kind of a little bit skewed. I had 2 children. I was a single mother. I had to support myself. I had a lot of choices to make about what I was going to do and how I was going to spend my time away from children, with my children. I had some,
Okay,
you
I
can't
didn't know
have
that.
it all. You can't have it all. I mean, you just make it the best you possibly can, and that's your all. Anyway,
you did more than most. I mean, having kids and raising them.
I did, and to make a living, and I had to fend for myself and my family. So I was always driven, and I knew that before Lee died, I wrote him a letter asking him why there was no national theater. And he said, can you come into my office? He was eating a half a cantaloupe and cottage cheese.
I love that detail.
That little office. And he said, you think you could raise $3 million? I said, well, actually, I do. He said, you do? I said, I think I can. He said, okay, meet me at the house on Sunday, like in Brentwood.
Yes.
With the person. So I did. And we were there, I don't know, a couple of hours, discussing the different projects that Lee was going to helm. They were planning, it was like HBO had just started, cable had just started. So I guess it's in 82 because he died right after this. And the plan was to do live theater like they did in the 50s on cable. And he had a list of all the actors that he wanted to play.
Do you have
Pacino, yeah, somewhere. Pacino in Orpheus Descending. He wanted
Val.
He had The Petrified Forest with Jane Fonda and Robert Redford, Redford wasn't even in the studio. So I thought, wow, he loved Redford. And there's a whole other list of actor studio actors and the plays that Lee was interested in doing, and it was going to happen. And I was going to be a part of it. You can imagine your close calls in your life. Anyway, it was really exciting, and he died soon after that. It never happened.
Oh, I'm so sorry. And when you
but I wish now there was live theater on cable. I mean, there were the websites like the National Theater in England.
Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic.
It is
that we don't have something like that. Lee lamented daily about the lack of a national theater, and it's just was.
I know. And it goes back to that Lincoln Center project being such a disappointment that Kazan got, and then it didn't even last. Yeah, I mean, that's heartbreaking studying that and how that almost happened. Lee almost ran Lincoln Center. Oh,
Yeah, but fortunately, the work lives on.
it
It's
does.
kind of amazing.
It does. And here we are on Zoom, and we're teaching classes on Zoom. And so in a sense, we're on cable. In a sense, these
Right.
classes, look, if you can still get $3 million, we might be able to do something. But
I doubt it. You couldn't get the rights. There's no way you could get the rights. People are, it's about money. It's not about art so much anymore.
Right. But it is such a fresh idea. I bet someone's listening thinking, oh, that's a great idea.
Totally is.
How do you,
Lee's idea.
Yeah, Lee's idea, but you were going to make it happen. How do you find balance in your profession?
I don't think there is a balance. What does that mean?
Like, how do you, you teach so much and you give so much and you've been doing it for so long. Is it integrated as one, or is there a private Lola that needs to step away from the classroom and tend to herself? Because what you describe in class is that, I'm going to spend the whole summer reading Eugene O'Neill. That, even when you're not in class, you're still learning and
That's right.
ways to inspire yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm interested in a lot of things. I'm curious about everything. And, and I read a lot. And I watch films a lot. And and I live in a beautiful place, and I have 9 grandchildren.
Wow.
So I'm blessed, putting it mildly.
Very.
And my work takes me all over the world. So, traveling and teaching is heaven, and doing the things that I love, and passing on this work. It's just been amazing. And now my book is being published in Chinese. I just heard this week, because of the strange relations of the past year. It's already translated and finished and everything, but they had it, it was just such a crazy year geopolitically that they didn't put it out. But I think now things are chilling, so it's going to be out. Yeah, it's just I just don't really separate myself. I'm kind of, that's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of my life. So, and teaching is incredibly rewarding. And when your students work and thrive, it's the greatest. It's the greatest.
Agreed.
So I'm very thrilled on a weekly basis.
That's so wonderful. You and I have had,
and I got to be in a film.
Recently. Yeah, very recently.
Movie.
What's the movie called? Let's do a pitch for Sadie.
If That Mockingbird Don't Sing. And all these fantastic students are in it, from Strasberg, Braxton, and Ava, and Dylan is the still photographer, and Ruby is on the. It's a sad movie. So, If That Mockingbird Don't Sing, and I think Sadie's calling herself Sadie Bones, but we know her as Sadie Corrigan, and she's a fabulous actress. She's directing this film, and Ava Bodner and Braxton Fannin, they're just 2 star Strasberg people. I play a Staten Island grandmother, and they had me all dressed up in hot pink, and I look like a crazy person. And I said, listen, if I'm over the top, my students are going to say, what is she doing? You'll be so over the top. I said, so do you want me to play my mother, which was like a Brooklyn, just the same kind of thing. I have her big white glasses. They said, no, you play Sadie said, play your mother. So we do the scene. It's like I'm really loud and obnoxious, like loud. And then Sadie said, now, can we do it again? And then she gave me a bit of my own medicine. She said, use the need to humiliate. I just loved it. And it was the best take.
Really?
So yeah, here's to Sadie.
Yes, and thank you for introducing me to the Kim Stanley needs, because I'm passing that on now. What a difference it makes
Good.
in getting people to activate a scene and not playing a cliche general idea. It really teaches an actor how to make a choice. So I'm experimenting with them.
Oh, good. Please do, because you need all the other things. You need the the weather condition and the time of day and inside and outside and summer and winter. I mean, you need all the givens, but you also need the motivation, and the needs are part of the spine and the motivation. And what Adler, funny, she called it an action. It's no different than Kim's needs. It's intrinsic in your analysis that you supply the correct need in the scene, and there are multiple needs. They switch, determining what transpires.
Yeah, very helpful. You and I have
Kim Stanley.
Yeah,
I just have to just say her name. Thank you, Kim.
Bring her energy into the podcast. You and I have had conversations about, we're both passionate about the work, about keeping the work alive and keeping it pure, how important it is to us as we move away, from the time of the studio and the institutes being formed. And I know you feel strongly about that. I'm guessing some of your students, in addition to me, are going to be teachers or are teachers. So that must be gratifying for you.
Oh, it's amazing. Amazing. And good teachers, wonderful teachers. And Sebastian in Paris. He's making me so proud.
You were just in Paris, and something we haven't talked about is, I know this, Stanislavski system well, and you've been to Russia as well, right?
Yeah, 7 times.
The way they work there, because we've had Russian students come to LA, is quite different, the way they understand Stanislavski's work than what we're doing here. So they all want to come here and learn Lee Strasberg's work.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to say about, we stand on the shoulders of Stanislavski.
Right.
And we work for similar ideas and, the expression of truth and all that. But the exercises that I teach are purely Strasberg. I don't teach the Stanislavski exercise work.
And yet, like the things like objects in air, like they really are.
Well, that's a personal object, right?
Yeah, they really are the same, a lot of the things.
Exactly. No, it is. Lee gave to different nomenclature, the same ideas. Lee made it, I think, more specific. He systematized the exercises. Stanislavski had, genius ideas and how to train actors holistically. And so, Lee just went further than Stanislavski. He worked longer than Stanislavski, and he just said on a daily basis, if there was no Lee Strasberg, if there was no Stanislavski, there would be no Lee Strasberg. And he loved the work of Vachtangoff and Meyerhold. And, so he really encouraged us to dive deep into the mother lode, the Stanislavski history. So going to Moscow for me, now the people at the theater and the Stanislavski house have become personal friends in this terrible time. It's been very rough, very rough. I can't say too much about that.
Yeah, with communication, as well. Okay, do you find that your source of creativity and the work that we do is spiritual?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The relaxation, for sure. We put ourselves in a different psychological state. We try to eliminate our own problems, our own fears, so that we can take on the habits and the fears of the character. And I think that's a leap of faith. And to have the capacity to, at will, learn how to relax at will, no matter what is going on in your life, is incredibly difficult to do. And it takes years of learning and practicing, and it's very disciplined work that needs to be done on a daily basis. That's why it's not for everybody. It's hard, as you know.
It's not a quick fix technique.
No.
It's slow. It has its own rhythm, and
there's a great payoff.
Yes, it's so rich. It's so rich. I mean, I love Boleslavsky, Lee Strasberg's teacher. I love his books because he uses the word soul all the time, and I know Lee Strasberg wasn't a huge fan of those words. So
no, that's not why.
That's not really.
No, he didn't use soul and spiritual because he was afraid that he would be attacked for being too way out there, and maybe it put some people off. I'm not sure, but he did say about using the word spiritual that the people will think he's kooky or something. Mm-hmm. But it is a spiritual discipline for sure. When you're moving to a higher consciousness in a way by taking on another person's life and times, and to be able to eliminate your own pressures, your own ego, and to it's really powerful. And when you have it down, which you never will, but you get good at it and you become a good actor. Maybe you start off not so good, you keep working, you get a little better. I've watched people improve and change. There's so much hope in that people can change, that hearts can heal, that you can reach out with your own your soul to the audience and make them feel something. I mean, that's a high calling. Lee said that actors are the priests for the audience. I love that.
That is so beautiful.
It is.
You
have to feel that way.
The plateau of really what I wanted this podcast to be, that it is so important, and that we can elevate society and people around us. And I know that Lee ends his book saying that this is work that he'd like to see taken out into the world. And so when you talk about healing and inspiring, I hope that actors understand that there's more than just getting the job and becoming famous, that you can elevate life and other people.
We hope so.
And I like the fact that we hope so. I like the fact that you said, you may never get there, because isn't it better to keep aspiring than to arrive?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's always more work to be done, more interesting plays to be read, more parts to be played, more risks to be taken. I mean, there are people, they just want to be stars. Okay, that's okay with me. They don't last too long at Strasberg because it's so demanding. So we tend to keep our students, and we're having a banner a few years now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's really the work is it's just proliferating.
Yes, and drawing people from all over the world to our schools, which I find to be extremely exciting to be in class.
Well, the New York school is the United Nations. I mean, it's astonishing. People coming from everywhere. It's a beautiful thing.
It is. I am so happy to talk to you today. Could you please tell our audience the name of your books, which I know are all available online, and also where people can contact you or find you? Like Instagram or...
Oh, yeah, of course.
A website.
I do. I have a website. Okay. I do have a website, lolacohen.net. You can, Instagram. I'm on Facebook. There's an old Facebook page that I never check. But the one with me, you'll see me. It's me at the Kremlin. I had my book signing across the street from the Kremlin. And my book is in Russian, and 200 people showed up.
Wow!
Like Lee Strasberg is well known in Russia, which is completely crazy. Mm-hmm. In fact, when I was leaving Russia once, they took me aside and wanted to search me. Of course, I was terrified. Bring your stuff and, behind a curtain. And I was so scared. I was shaking. And it's always scary leaving. Getting there, I don't mind, but leaving, oh, man. So they took my iPad and they opened up my iPad, and my screenshot is Lee Strasberg and Stanislavski together. And they looked at my iPad. They went, Stanislavska. They called everybody over. Look, American Stanislavska. And they were so happy. And they said, okay, thank you.
I would love to see that picture. I've never seen a picture of the two of them together.
Oh, they were never together. They never met. Lee once saw him in the street on the Upper West Side. And he's very tall. Lee was so struck. He was thunderstruck. And he was thinking, what am I going to say? What? There he is. And he's like, it was about, I think it might have been 1923. He came back again. I'm not sure what year it was. And he followed him, getting up his courage. And Stanislavski disappeared into the subway.
Oh, no.
He was talking about his regrets. And did he have any regrets? That was the regret. That he never talked to Stanislavski. But someone I know did, I'll send it to you, a picture of the two of them.
I would love to see it. And please tell us the name of your book so people can find them.
They're both published by Routledge. The first one is the Lee Strasberg Notes. I think that was published in 2011. That's transcribed tapes of all Lee's classes and his critiques of scenes. I love that book. It's all Lee all the time. And it's just beautiful. I think the tapes that you're watching are the transcriptions.
Oh.
So you might hear things in there that I edited for my book, the first book. The second book is the Method Acting Exercises Handbook. And I wrote that just to clarify for my NYU students. And it was really for my NYU students that I wrote this book. And to describe every exercise in detail, just making it as specific as I can in terms of how to sit in the chair, how to do the cup, how to do all the exercises described, and then the character work exercises, and then Kim's exercises. So that's my book. It's all me. The Method Acting Exercises Handbook.
Very helpful. Very, very helpful.
Yes.
Refer to
Good.
it often.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
Whether you're a student or you're interested in learning about the technique, that's definitely one to add to your list. I think books are so important for actors, so I hope everyone gets your books.
Well, you can't learn acting from a book.
No.
But my book, is the companion piece. So if I say, okay, your assignment is three materials, your assignment is animal work, that they have a manual that is just laid out there. And
yeah, I went to it when I was doing an animal in your class. I looked at your list, and I love the way you break down the animals into their personalities. It's so wonderful and very, very helpful.
Good.
So Lola teaches in New York. You can find her at the New York School. And I'm currently in an online class with her, a character class. It is fantastic. I'm about to take it for my third time in the fall. Always a student. And I believe that teachers should be training and learning and expanding. And there's so much to learn from you, Lola. And this is just a little bite-sized piece for our listeners and viewers. But I thank you so much for being on my podcast today.
You're the best, Rachel.
Oh, you are. You are. Thank you so much.
Okay. Peace from Woodstock, kids.
Thank you, Lola. That was truly wonderful. What a treat for all of us. You make learning so enjoyable, so challenging, so fun, so educational, and I hope everyone gets a chance to study with you. Thank you for passing on Lee Strasberg's technique. Thank you to your contributions to his work. We are all so lucky to have you. If you'd like to hear more of these podcasts, please visit my website at diaryofanactress.com. Until the next time, stay inspired.